It's the Traumedy Podcast. Trauma plus comedy equals Traumedy. This week on Traumedy.
I mean, it is our birthright to have a wonderful life.
It is.
To share love. And
it's your birthright to learn how to help your body finally feel safe in order to receive, right? To not have a guard up, to let the guard finally down, let the body armor finally come off so that you can receive that for yourself. And it all starts, and I always tell people this is the thing I had to learn, is the foundation is true safety inside. And some of us have never experienced what that actually feels like. I had never experienced that until 3 years ago.
You're listening to Traumedy, the podcast that helps you take your pain and play with it. I'm Nancy Norton. I am a former nurse, comedian, and keynote speaker about the power of humor, why we need it, how it helps us.
Bring the power of humor to your next event with award-winning comedian Nancy Norton. Nancy got out of healthcare for the same reason a lot of people get into it, to save lives. Message Nancy at nancynorton.tv. The Traumedy Podcast is sponsored by Crybaby Badass. You have to feel it to heal it. You are a Crybaby Badass luminary. See your light in the mirror. Do you have a trauma? Hey, you listening, do you have a Traumedy story to share? If so, send Nancy a message at nancynorton.tv.
It's going to be another good one on Traumedy. At least for me, I'll tell you right now. I met this guest and I now want to start working with her. So I hope that you gained some inspiration and insight just like I did. And please reach out to me. Let me know how you're doing. Of course, every Traumedy episode comes with a trigger warning because we talk about trauma, and we will be talking a little bit about sexual assault and pelvic floor, among other things, religious trauma. And right now, as I am recording this, of course, at like midnight, the night before I upload it, I'm going to upload it here shortly. I'm in my studio with a brand new, I was going to say family member. I'm scared to say family member because we're fostering this wonderful little dog I met at a fundraiser for Red Fern Animal Rescue. I was doing comedy and then this dog got in my lap and I did not want to let him go. He is a beautiful little Shih Tzu. Yes, it's fun to say Shih Tzu. So he is 1 to 2 years old. He seems like a puppy. This was Saturday night, and now today it is Monday. So he's only been with us a little over 24 hours. He's mostly just very loving. And I've been off doom scrolling. I've been out for at least 11 walks and being out in nature, watching the birds. And just every time I look at him, I'm looking at him right now. He's a brand new family member. His name is Mushu. And if you go on my Instagram, nancynorton.tv, you can see pictures of him if you want. And go to Red Fern Animal Rescue. Donate some money. You know what? It's tax season. I know this will apply for next year, for 2026 taxes, but I'm just saying I'd much rather give money to a nonprofit that's doing great work. They drive these dogs up from Texas. I guess there's a lot of strays in Texas for some reason. And he's from San Antonio. He was probably trying to see the Alamo. I don't know. But anyway, Red Fern Animal Rescue, donate some money to them. Why not? And they, take care of this. They neuter, they chip, they do all the cares. This little dog needed a lot of help. He was out on the streets. I don't know how this little dog survived on the streets. I really don't. Maybe eating sticks is what I've gathered so far. Okay. Let me know if you have any fostering tips. I am looking for cute little things for him to chew on other than sticks that are good for him. And thank you for listening. And I hope you're doing okay. Yeah, tax season. I have procrastinated. And yeah, it's something I don't like doing because I know where the majority of the money goes and it's not where I want it to go. So I got to work on giving to more nonprofits. Thank you again, and I hope you enjoyed this episode like I did.
welcome to Traumedy. My guest this week is a trauma survivor turned therapist and author, podcaster, an amazing human as far as I can tell so far. Please welcome to the program, Brooke Deanne. Hi, Brooke.
Hello. Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be here and have this conversation.
Me too. I adore trauma survivors who have, not only done their healing work, but are paying it forward to help other people. And it sounds like you're definitely on that mission to help, like aligned with the mission of trauma to help heal ourselves and others, right?
I don't want people to suffer the way that I did. I want to show them that there is a faster, quicker, easier route to deal with the pain and the suffering so that they can finally start to live more in joy and safety and connection and belonging and all of those things because, I felt like I took kind of the hard route my whole entire life. And so I was like, well, I'm going to show people that this doesn't have to, we don't have to do these things the hard way. We can actually, there's easier ways to do it.
Yeah, you don't have to reinvent the wheel because there's all this support out there and understanding now. You have a book called Shattered, Broken, and Beautiful. What I understood was one of the main topics is narcissistic abuse. Is that something that you've experienced that you want to help others to get out of the crazy making cycle of that?
I do. Actually, that's really my biggest passion is helping women mostly to see the fact that not only has patriarchal, I can never say the word, but I always say it wrong, but patriarchy.
Patriarchal society. Let's say it together.
But I'm like, I want people to understand like that women have been suppressed for a long time. And it's the reason why we've kind of just been operating in this kind of like abusive toxicity cycle between men and women. We're not giving men the reason to not stop doing it because we're staying in relationships. And that was my story for 17 years. But again, also speaking to the fact that we get stuck and trapped in those relationships because of what we experienced as children, because of the trauma that we're carrying inside of us. We think that we're less than, we think we're not worthy of more. We think we're not enough. And then we also were maybe for my instance, I was modeled in an abusive relationship. So I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And then weave in my religious trauma where it said a man is higher than a woman and a woman is meant to, stay quiet, be silent, do her duty. And I thought, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is my role in life. And so, you put all those factors in and it's a perfect storm for me to stay trapped in abuse. And so it's why I'm very passionate about speaking to these systems, not only religious systems, but narcissistic systems, right? Family, relationships. It can happen at work. It can happen in friendships, right? Just being able to show people like, okay, what is harm? What is abuse? And how do you start to actually really protect yourself and know the difference?
I love that. And there's so much of internalized, misogyny, internalized, the patriarchal system, like you said at the very beginning of that, where, I am in a recovery program for adult children of dysfunctional families. And I often have to address my sense of, unworthiness or, like you said, less than, second-class citizen. Even now, I get on stage sometimes, I'm a stand-up comedian, so I get on stage, I have these pants I bought recently at, J. Crew or something, and they have a back pocket this deep. And I try to put my cell phone in there and it's sticking out this far. And I turn my back to the stage and I'm like, if you don't think it's a patriarchy, check this out. Like, am I not worthy? Am I not worthy of a full pocket? I mean, seriously.
No, you're not. You're not worthy of a full pocket.
According to society. And it's really, it says so much about the deep pockets, right? About who has the money, who has the power, who has the control. And religious, so you grew, let's go into your childhood a little bit. I think that's interesting. You grew up, it sounds like, in a very religious home.
Yes, I did. It was very much stay by the rules. It was very black and white thinking. We have to abide by these rules. My father was an elder, so I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, and an elder is someone that's kind of higher up in this society, if you will. And so it requires the family to really play a role. And that role is to be the perfect little spiritual family. And so as an elder's daughter, my father put a lot of pressure on me to be that good girl, right? That perfect little girl that complied, listen. She was supposed to be the example. And I got that all the time. You're supposed to be the example for the other children within the church, And so I felt that pressure. And the more pressure that I felt to be that perfect little good girl, well, the more that my whole entire system was like, we're going to rebel against this because I don't want to.
I just want to.
I didn't want to fit in a box from very early, right? I didn't want to fit in a box. I had played the good girl for too long, and I realized I don't want to fit in this box. I want to fit in with my peers. I want to belong, because as growing up a witness, you have to be different. They tell you, literally, the religious leaders say, you're different from the rest of the world, right? You are the chosen people of God, and everybody else is not.
Wow.
So they immediately, brainwash you to believe that you are the chosen people and that the people on the outside are evil, wrong, and not chosen by God. So it's our job to go preach door to door to go and save all of these people. And, you don't realize the trauma until after you leave that kind of really, that experience even gave me, because not only did it give me a superiority complex, like, oh, I'm better than you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not God's chosen people. I know the way. You don't know the way. But it also, created this feeling of, I don't know where I belong. I don't feel like I belong in this religion. And I also don't feel like I belong outside of this religion. And so it was very interesting to have to navigate the world around me, because I just always had the belief I don't fit in anywhere. I don't belong anywhere. Like, I don't know where I belong. And so I just really stayed and conformed to the system because I didn't want to lose my family. I didn't want to lose my community. Because when you leave, you lose everybody.
And that's how cults work. That's right. That's what I've heard, is that when you're inside, you want to, they make it so that it is so, like you said, you have abandonment. All your abandonment issues are going to come up. You're going to be exiled. And there's a part of our brain that knows we are interdependent beings. Like, of course, as a child, you cannot survive without your parents. And so that indoctrination of the cult, I'm going to call it a cult. I don't know if that's appropriate, but I feel like that's a cult mentality. Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and then at what age, I'm curious, like, did you start, or did you said always, like, I definitely always felt different. I always thought, well, maybe it's because I have a weird eye and I have a, like I always felt like I'm a tomboy. Like I really felt like this, I don't want to wear a dress. I never want, I wanted to wear shoes that I could climb a tree with. And I never liked wearing whatever that costume. To me, it felt like a costume if I dressed like a girl, and not to say I can't wear a dress now and then, but actually, I haven't worn a dress in so long, but I do respect people that do. Okay. You're a goddess. I know that's the name of your podcast, right? Goddess Rising.
It is. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I adore the feminine energy and the divine feminine, but anyway, back to you. When did you have that, or like where you decided to rebel? Was it your teenage years, or was it even earlier?
So it didn't actually start until I was like around 12 years old. Before that, I was very much, I stayed in line with what my parents expected. I just did what I was told to do. And then at 12 years old, it was like I started to see my peers around me and they were starting to date boys. And I was like boy crazy, like since as long as I can remember, honestly. Like I wanted attention from boys. I mean, I think that's pretty normal, but I also didn't have very healthy attention from my father. So I think there's something to be said about like, having a very toxic relationship with your father can also create kind of like that, like I need to go get my attention by the male,
yes,
by the masculine energy. And so I always wanted to be around boys. And so I started to be like, I want to be like my peers. I want to date a boy. I want to be normal. And so I got my first boyfriend. And as a witness, you're not allowed to date until you're ready to get married. And so, I was years, obviously, from ever wanting to get married. And so, of course, I kept it a secret. I hid it. And I didn't let my parents know until a fellow witness told on me. She went and tattled.
Tattletales.
Yeah. And to boot, she was one of my best friends, right? She tattletaled on me. So, talk about the anger and the betrayal and all the feelings that I had when I was, just a young girl of like this girl just going and ratting me out. And
yeah, to be betrayed by another female under that system, it does, it's crazy making. It's sort of like when I watch females voting against their own body autonomy. It drives me nuts. Like, why? It's like a betrayal of our sex. And I do identify as a she, they. So I'm totally female identified, but tomboy gender. I don't subscribe to gender roles. It's a social construct anyway. Not my thing, never has been. But so that betrayal by your best friend, although she was trying to save you, I'm sure,
That's
save
right.
you
She
from
didn't think she
yourself.
was doing anything wrong. She was doing what she was told as well, right? So I had to have like some forgiveness for her. Later on in life, we did actually talk about it. She apologized, when we
Okay,
turned
all
adults.
right.
And I was like, I realized, oh, well, you actually were just doing what you were told, right? She was someone that stayed within the rules of the system. And I just didn't. I didn't tattle on anybody. I was just like, they're doing them, like, and I just didn't want anything to do with it. But there was a component of there too. It was like, I also kind of just wanted to be the person that had the freedom. I also
Yeah.
had freedom, right? To be able to do what I wanted.
Stay on
And
the
so,
DL.
yeah, exactly. And I just didn't have that. I didn't get to have that expression. So I kept trying that a few times. And then I finally found a boy that was in the religion. And that is the one that I ended up marrying. But my parents did not want us to be together. And so it just became, that's in my book, in Shattered, Broken, and Beautiful. It's really my story of like how that evolved, because my parents, it was like Romeo and Juliet story, right? We were forbidden to see each other. Forbidden because we had sex before marriage. Big no, as the Jehovah's Witness. And they wanted to keep us apart. And the more they wanted to keep us apart, well, the more that we came together, right? Like it's just that's just the way it's going to work. So it's an interesting part of my story. But wow, did I learn so much from that experience?
Yes. I mean, one of the things I talk to trauma survivors about, and of course, we would not wish any trauma on anyone. And even, if we had a time machine, would we go back? I don't know, because I don't want to be somebody else. Like, I trust my experiences that brought me here. But I don't know. How do you feel about it? Are you in that place? Sounds like that you're grateful for your experiences and what you've learned from it, and how you can help other people, or is
Yes.
that too much
Yes.
bright siding?
No, it's interesting. Like, I think I've gone through, I like to say my journey's been kind of similar to the way my life has been, up and down. Like, my healing journey has been much the same.
Does it look like an EKG?
Yes, extreme highs and extreme lows of this journey of healing and grieving and anger and all of the things. I think for a long time, like, I couldn't see the lessons in my journey. There was sometimes going back into like that victim consciousness of like, oh, woe is me. Like, why did this happen to me? How dare they? Like, but at the same time, I think we have to hold space. Yeah, was I a victim? Yes, I was, right? But I also played a part. I also can see how I played a part in my own victimhood, right? How I also didn't uphold boundaries. I stayed when I could have left, right? Like, I made choices that I also have to hold my own accountability for. I can't just blame the perpetrator. So it's just, there's, those things about, learning. Okay, well, what did I learn? Well, you know what my ex actually taught me? How to learn how to love myself finally, right? I had never had that experience in that relationship. And then when I left, I finally got to receive that, which is, finally finding that love within myself that I had never discovered while I was in the marriage.
Let's take a minute. I love to just pause and take a breath and breathe into that, because I'm 65 and I am just now getting that spark of self-love. And it's just such a sweet life to have that. And when you haven't ever really had that, like, I've compensated, with my comedy, like, oh, they, hoping, people celebrate me, or, if they're laughing with me, they're loving me, or, it's always coming from the outside. But just taking that, I'm so happy for you to get the
Thank
gift
you.
of self-love. And from here, everything else feels so much more manageable, doesn't it? Once you have that.
It really does, because I think a part of me realized too, it was like a lot of the things I was doing was thinking I had to do these things to achieve, to prove a point,
Yeah.
and it was all because I was trying to get my source of approval or acceptance or love outside of me. And then I think once things kind of shifted and I saw, I don't need any of that. I am the source. I'm the source of it all, right? And I think that's the biggest piece of healing, is realizing that actually everything is about you and how you perceive you, and all your triggers and everything else that's outside of it. It's like it's all coming back to yourself, and like learning how to come back to your body and be like, okay, what's the story here? What do I need to release? Like, why do I feel this way? And it's always something coming up from the past to be looked at in a different perspective. That's it.
Having that dialogue with yourself, with your body. Let's talk about some of your healing modalities. You're a healer. You're a therapist, and I was reading about RTT, which I hadn't, I thought, oh, I've done all the therapy. Okay. I don't want to, I did the hat trick, I've done EMDR, I've done brain spotting, psychedelic trauma therapy, which I'm a huge proponent of. But I have not, have you done psychedelic trauma therapy?
I have, yes, I have sat with psychedelics. It was a big part of my healing journey as well. Yes, I am very much, an advocate for that. If anybody is like thinking about doing that, go and do it. Like let your intuition, like the nudge that you're getting, like go and explore it. It was something that really helped me to finally settle into like my body. Living like didn't realize I had lived so dissociated for so long, because that was the only way I could be safe in my environment. Since I was a young girl, I am very disconnected. And so I think that's a huge piece of like, sometimes you can just kind of get the default mode network, they call, out of the way. And and you can kind of just actually sit there and do the work, and psychedelics really help you, as well as RTT was what I do. So rapid transformational therapy, it's like, think you don't have to take the drug. We're doing the same work that you can do with the psychedelics, but you don't have to take the drug. And that because we're working with the subconscious. And when you're working with psychedelics, you're working with your subconscious. So you're seeing everything in real time, the trauma, the somatic imprints of your experiences, and you're getting the ego out of the way.
And is it with psychedelics, what I found was I also felt resourced enough to look at these things and have a big, greater perspective, so that I could look at some of the most scary things in my life. Now, not to say they weren't still scary, but I had walled them off for a reason. But with psychedelics, I felt resourced enough that I could look at it, I could see it, and then get to a place where I could accept it. And it was things I did not want to see. I didn't want to see my mother in that way. And in my experience, I do believe she had some sort of postpartum psychosis, and my memories were very pre-verbal and terrifying. And I just kept hearing this voice say she's not in her right mind. So I have to forgive her. That's not her fault if she's having sleep deprived psychosis or postpartum psychosis or something like that. And I feel bad for her, because I know she had to probably live with that. But when you do RTT, is there something that helps us resource so that we have the ability to look at some of these really hard memories? Like for mine, I felt intermittently suffocated, and it was terrifying. And I had some kind of near-death experiences that were scary. Like I went into like a little black dot. I was like, the nothingness was terrifying to me. But I felt like, okay, and my therapist was holding my hand, so I knew I had kind of a container. But with RTT, how does it work? Could you explain it, or is that a lot?
Yeah, no, I can actually, having done both, right? I think with psychedelics, the thing is it can be very re-traumatizing. It can be it can create psychosis in some, because sometimes it can just really break the psyche a little bit too much if we're not held in a safe container. And sometimes even when you're held in a safe container, sometimes it's just too much for your nervous system and for your mind. So I have seen that in my work. I've seen, it can be both, right? So it's just really being able to know that the piece is trusting your intuition, and also learning that you can also be the source of your safety while you're in that. In RTT, it's really important because I think it's more of like you can go and find these memories, but we can also make it so you're not re-traumatizing. We can actually take you out of the memory, and you can actually like be looking at it from like a bird's eye view, because it's hypnotherapy, right? So we can find the memory, but we don't actually have to kind of relive it all the
You
time.
don't have to, relive it, embody it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So
what I
that
did
can be really
experience that.
helpful for like sexual trauma and stuff like that for people that are kind of struggling with that. If it's too much, but in reality, it's really important to be able to feel what the body couldn't feel and process at that time of the trauma. So we can do that in RTT, and you do that in psychedelics. So the beauty of psychedelics is, well, you don't really have a choice.
You're on the ride.
You're going whether you like it or not, okay? But with RTT, it's more of like, I'm going to hold your hand through this process. It's more like a safe, guided process where it can be at the pace of the nervous system. It can be at the pace that the client really needs, right? So we can go at a slower pace. Psychedelics, it's more like you're going, fast pace. You can't bypass it. You're just going straight there. So it depends on what kind of experience you really want, I think for me, psychedelics were great to get some stuff out of the way. I needed to understand why I felt the way I did. And it helped me by letting me see the experiences that I needed to see. And they were difficult, just like you said. But it helped me understand myself, right? And sometimes we need that little bit of a push. And it's the same thing with what I do, is that just we really process things somatically, but also kind of rewire those new neural pathways so that we can kind of get rid of old beliefs and we can start to imprint, different ones.
Psychedelics aren't a match for everyone. If you've ever had psychosis, it's not a match for you, or certain maybe personality, maybe disorders or imbalances may not be a match. So this is a great alternative. And they both can have neurogenesis afterwards? Because that's the gift of the psychedelics is all that, like you said, rewiring and the neurogenesis, new neuronal pathways, new.
Yes, they both have that ability. That's the beauty of it. When you work with the subconscious, you are creating a new pathway. You're also able to see things in different perspective. So you can go back into a scene that maybe you have thought about for years that was so traumatic, and you can see it from a different perspective because you're in this state. You're in this alpha or theta brainwave state. So you have a different type of consciousness in this state, and you can kind of perceive things differently. You also can maybe grieve or understand why it made you feel the way it did. And then after we kind of experience this is when we're able to kind of do the repair. We repair, and then we create the new neural pathway of, oh, I never have to look at this like this ever again. And I don't have to keep repeating it, because once the brain has closed the loop, it's resolved. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to you. Yeah.
I want to reflect back what I heard, because I heard that it's almost like in 3 stages, where it's like we're going to remember things maybe that we've walled off. Then we're going to repair? No, wait. There was a third thing. Nancy, what was that?
We're going to somatically let the body feel, and we're going to understand what the beliefs are that were created from that experience.
Okay. And then we're going to do the repair, and then we're going to do the neurogenesis.
We're going to create the new neural pathways. So we're going to rewire the brain. And so the cool thing about what I do too is it's like I do RTT, but I also do somatic work while we're in there. So we're also connecting back to the body, because the mind and the body are connected. I feel like, yes, you can work with the subconscious, but they're all connected. You have to connect them together. So you have to also notice what's coming up sensation-wise in the body, because our body's always speaking to us. And it's actually always giving us messages. We just don't pay attention. We just pay attention. And so when we kind of work with the body and the brain at the same time, we're moving through things like way quicker than traditional talk therapy, right? We're doing things and we're just moving and transforming things way quicker, so we can get out of the stories we've been telling ourselves for years and years and years, and we can start to truly live from a different perspective of life and create a different reality.
I love it. I love this. I want to try it sometime. Now, do you take clients remotely or do you have in person or how, are you still seeing clients?
Yeah, I do both. Honestly, most of my business is on Zoom. Zoom is actually great because people get to be in their homes, in their own beds, cozy while they do this process. It makes people actually
Well,
feel
you're
more
cozy. You can be in bed under your blanket,
fed, under
maybe a
blanket.
nice weighted blanket.
Yes, like all I have to do is see your face. So people just have a laptop and they're cozy and they're just hearing me through the headphones and I'm hearing them as as I'm guiding them through this process. But it's being able to, feel safe enough. And that's the biggest factor is we have to feel safe enough to explore our trauma. If we don't, we will not move past it. And really, it's important for us to be able to feel safe enough to explore it. And when we do, I first create safety for people as we kind of nurture a relationship. We create safety in the body. They listen to a recording that implements that into their brain. I'm safe to feel. I'm safe to process these things. I'm safe to discover. Like I'm safe to be curious. Like all of these components, and that really sets them up for a great first session.
Wow, I may be a new client.
I would love it. I would love to help you out, Nancy. I would love to. It's a fun exploration of self. Um,
I'd
there's
love
never not revelations and epiphanies. I mean, it's fascinating, honestly, work. I feel like sometimes I'm like a detective and I get to go inside your subconscious, but really it's you doing the work. I'm just guiding and leading it. And I do this all very intuitively too. Like I can sense and feel that energy. I can sense kind of what's processing in real time. I can hear what's happening for you. So it's like I'm also being that guide, but really you are the one that's doing the work here. And you're processing, things that you would have to do for 10, 15 years in traditional talk therapy.
Oh, listen,
In one
I've been in therapy so many decades, and I mean, I trust, and I know you have religious trauma. We were talking about this earlier, and I'm very spiritual. So I do believe in a higher power, whatever that is. I do believe we are one with, after psychedelics, I just feel like we're
Yes.
all part of the one. And I know that I feel like I'm just grateful that for whatever reason the algorithm put us together. I'm so glad to know you. I feel like there's something here for me personally, as well as people who listen in, and so I'm excited. I want to say something. Like I personally, I had given up on relationships. I'm 65. Listen, I kind of wanted to go into my safety. I want to cry a little bit when I tell you this because it's like it's a sadness, right? Like never quite got there to that, relationship that is like, just beautiful. Like I thought I was there, but wah, wah. Turns out it was, us. I was told by the Boulder County Safe House I was with a sociopath for 11 years. And it's like, dang, and I was so thought I had found the one, you know what I mean? Like she kissed my lazy eye, and I'm versatile. I've been with men and with women. And my ex-husband and I are still friends. I just talked to him the other day. He has some other issues. He's just, whatever. We did not quite emotionally attune. Let's just leave it at that. But now I have a crush on a guy, and I just found out he has a crush on me. And I was with him last year at a gig, and I mean, I really was like, ooh, I would like to make out with this guy, but my pelvic floor is completely shut down. Like no one's getting in here. And so I personally want to work on, and I know I'm postmenopausal, so that has something to do with it, but also I just know intuitively that's from a sexual trauma in my teenage years, a sexual assault. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to work with you about that. Like I am motivated. I guess I'm just is in my recovery journey. I'm just getting to a place. Well, maybe I could have another relationship, or maybe I could have a healthy relationship that's not trying to heal whatever trauma with whoever, with our parents. I know I hate to be a textbook case, but the woman I was with, I was healing my mama trauma. The man I was with was healing my daddy stuff, like that's so cliche. But anyway, is that something like you work with people who have sexual trauma? I'm sure you do. I know already, but I'm asking.
No, I actually work with a lot of sexual abuse victims. Because I mean, I am also a sexual abuse victim. I was just a young child when that happened to me. And I was also sexually assaulted many, many times throughout my life because I didn't understand safe relationships with men. So I understand this completely. I had to heal so much of that trauma. And so when I work with women with this, it's really important to realize it's also so connected to the body. So you can logically think, I want to have a healthy relationship and I want to be with a man. But
And
if
I want to open my body up, but it
the
won't.
body is saying no, you have to be able to connect the body to the mind. And so that's obviously the work I do, right? Through the somatic hypnosis sessions, it's being able to finally connect the body to the mind, to know that the body now is finally safe to be able to explore this, right? We got to let the body's guard down because the body, guess what? It's going to do what it's going to do, girl. Like you have zero control over it. It's a part of your human intelligence that has been protecting you for a very, very long time.
And it did. And I will say, even during the sexual assault I experienced, I think my tight pelvic floor protected me in a way because I was able to
Yes.
he wasn't able to penetrate me fully. So that was part of it. So I think that has been a lifelong, let's,
Yes.
as much as I want to relax and receive love, I think I've always it's been hard to override that.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, I know it's nothing new, but I'm inspired to think that even at this age, in my last, whatever, I'm calling my last third, if I'm lucky enough to live another 30 years, then, I mean, it is our birthright to have a
Yes,
wonderful life,
it is.
to
Yes.
share love.
It's
And
your birthright to learn how to help your body finally feel safe in order to receive, right? To not have a guard up, to let the guard finally down, let the body armor finally come off so that you can receive that for yourself. And it all starts, and I always tell people this is the thing I had to learn, is the foundation is true safety inside. And some of us have never experienced what that actually feels like. I had never experienced that until 3 years ago. I didn't even know
wow,
what that meant. When my therapist would tell me, well, you got to find safety. How do you feel safe? Where's your safety? And I was like, what are you even saying? I don't even know what you're talking about. Well, I'm safe. I don't know. I'm in this house. You know what I mean? I've got a job. I have money. I guess I'm safe. I didn't realize that the concept had to be actually felt. It had
yeah,
to land in my body. Until it landed in my body, my guard was up. I was defensive. I couldn't let people in. I couldn't let my partner in. I couldn't there was so much unraveling that had to happen. And so now I think that, now you're kind of inspiring me. This is another piece of my work is helping women access this and finding that. And it's by accessing it through the body, but also letting the mind know, these things that happened in the past, they're not happening right now in real time. So when we process them, the subconscious thinks that everything is happening right now. So all your traumatic experiences, your subconscious is well, we got to defend against this, and this, and this, and this. So it's constantly, thinking
yeah.
about what does it have to defend against?
Yeah, I always look at my ego as a binary, threat, no threat, threat, no threat. And it tends to want to just rest on threat, 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 threat,
Right.
threat. And it's just this, and I'm like, how can I get it to rest on no threat? And that's what you're talking about, isn't it?
That's
That
what we
sense
want
of
to do.
safety.
Yeah, and that's what we want to do. And so it's why, my work is foundational in teaching women, one, how does your nervous system operate? What is the nervous system state that you are always finding yourself in? For me, it was fight or flight. I was constantly busy, rushing, anxiety, feeling kind of on edge, easily irritated, all of those components, realizing that that was just me being in my survival part of my brain. It was not me accessing my true safety, connection, joy, and belonging, my ventral vagal. So,
Oh,
which
I
is
love that.
where we want to be, right? But we have to teach our system where we want to be. And until we rewire our nervous system and our mind, we're going to keep going to default. That's it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know,
It sounds super simple, but it's actually really complicated. It takes consistency, discipline on your part, even while we're doing the work together, but also helps you showing up on your everyday experiences of life, right? In a different way that you never did before. But now you have access to it once you have safety.
I love that. Can you say those three things again? The finding your sense of joy,
Oh,
belonging.
joy, belonging, connection. I think, yes. I mean, I don't know exactly what I said. I'm sorry. But yeah,
Okay, that's right.
that's,
No, it just felt like a core thing that I just wanted to affirm, like
yeah, it is.
finding that sense of joy
Hmm.
and that sense of okayness. I will talk, I mean, and I hear this so many times from trauma survivors or, lots of people. Just we wake up and there's this millisecond of okayness of like, I'm all right, and then instantly I can go to either a toxic shame experience. I can find that thing, that and I think it is about safety. Like if I find the thing to be ashamed of, then I'm not going to get blindsided by somebody. And I did have an occupational therapist who told me like maybe, your divergent eye is like scanning for threats, like you don't feel safe enough to, completely focus on one person and just like, I don't know. I tried to rewire my eye once, and I thought it was exhausting, and you have to do it 20 minutes a day, and I paid a lot of money. I went to a lot of vision therapy, and then I don't know. At some point, I got busy and then stopped. It's kind of like yoga. Every time I restart yoga, I'm like doing it. I'm doing it this year, I swear. Yeah. But I'm wondering if when we think about rewiring, when you said it's something you have to practice. That made sense to me with just trying, because I think it is possible. I did read a book called Fixing My Gaze, and neuroplasticity is a thing. And this woman achieved binocular vision after a lifetime of not having it. So I was inspired. And this is inspiring me. But what does it take to practice it to, so that I can, not go back to that default setting of life's scary, somebody's going to come in and, hurt me at some point.
Well, I think the first piece is awareness.
Okay.
Oh, I know my pattern. Oh, I understand I go into fear. Or, oh, I understand I go into shame. So the first piece is awareness. And guess what? That's the easiest part. That is the easiest part, right? The next part is actually being like catching yourself in real time when you get into the fear. So I'll give you an example. I think that will be really helpful for people that are listening in. I obviously grew up in a cult, which was a doomsday cult. So everything that was about that cult was fear-based, right? So it was, if you don't obey, you're going to die, like all of these components. So of course I had fear embedded in my nervous system. I had fear embedded in my consciousness. And so when I left, that fear didn't just go away because I left the religion. I brought it along with me into my whole entire experience of this reality. And I was fearful of everything. I was fearful of my shadow. My gosh, I was fearful of everything because there was just that fear that was still living inside of me. And so I think the piece of this was I had to realize every day, am I living in fear or am I living from love, belonging, safety? I had to start to see the difference, the polarity of both, right? Okay, what am I operating in right now? And how do I get out of this place? Because sometimes it feels like you can't. Sometimes you feel trapped there. Sometimes you feel like I don't know how. And that is a valid thing to feel because your nervous system hasn't experienced anything besides fear. So how does it know how to do anything else? It's only experienced one thing. And I had to realize that I needed to have more experiences besides just the fearful ones, just the ones where I was getting harmed or something was going wrong or something was, hurting me. I had to have different experiences. And so I had to learn from that so that my nervous system can finally be like, oh, we can finally relax here. We are not going to die. There's no God that's coming out of the sky to destroy us. All of these components, I had to learn that everything was okay and that I was safe. And the more that my nervous system did, everything started to relax, right? My whole world changed. My body changed. The way I shifted in the world changed. The way that I operated when news came out and, the recent war, I didn't have to operate from a place of fear. I just was like, this is what is happening in reality. I have zero control over it. Why am I going to go into fear? It doesn't serve me.
Yeah.
Simple, right? If something happens tomorrow, I don't have certainty that I'll be here tomorrow. But if I hold on to that today, how am I supposed to live today? Like in fear?
Right. To be in the present moment.
Yeah.
And I'm always asking what is mine to do, because it is important if there is something we can do to take action, like if we do need to
Yeah.
go into the streets and do the No Kings protest or whatever that is, that feels like I do have something to do, or to, when it's time to vote, to go around or canvas, or I don't know, that's getting political. But that, when you mentioned the war, all those things came to my mind, like what is
Of course.
mine to do,
Yeah.
to speak truth to power kind of thing, which is what I feel like I'm called to do a lot of times. And in a way that I can. And it's so tricky because I do a lot of corporate events. I'm a keynote speaker. I'm not going to do divisive content. But if I can say, hey, if, I do preach a little bit about self-love, and like,
Yeah.
let's, if we love ourselves, then we can recognize when there is somebody trying to get us to hate someone. Because I just feel like, hey, all hate is propaganda. And it's like, okay, hate, you know, just brings more hate, right? I don't know. So that's my little cheat of speaking truth to power. Like, who wants us divided? That's the oldest trick in the war book, divide and conquer. Just ask yourself, anytime you're seeing something in your reels that's divided, like making you want to feel othering, the othering. So I guess that's it. When I'm thinking about my safety, but how do I then, okay, I've done what I was supposed to do. I verbalized the thing. Now, how do I put a little container on that? And now it's my birthright to enjoy this bird in the tree, or this moment of breathing with Brooke Deanne, who's experienced self-love, for the first time, like being connected with my
Yeah.
fellow
Your
person.
experiences. Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I mean, I think that I really resonate with like Eckhart Tolle and like the power of now, and all we ever have is the present moment. I really realize that that is true. All we ever have is really this present moment. What are we going to do with it? What are we
Yes.
going to stay trapped in? Like, what are we going to try to be right and wrong about, right? Or are we just going to live, and from a different place? And I think if the world would be a different place if we all lived in our nervous systems that were in joy, safety, connection, and belonging, we would be
100%.
we would be a different society. Like it would be completely changed. And honestly, I feel like that's the evolution of humans right now. That's the evolution of consciousness right now. We are learning what doesn't work and what does work, right? By the feedback we're receiving. And we're also learning more of like, okay, what does this look like? And maybe some of us are still in that survival place, and that's where we need to kind of get to, okay, how do we get to safety in this moment?
Yeah.
Despite what's going on outside of us. And I think that's the key, is being able to find that for yourself, because when you find that, guess what? You don't accept relationships that are awful anymore.
You
You
just don't vibe with it. You just, that does that
don't
frequency.
connect. You don't connect the same because you know what safety is, and you know what is, true.
You can
And
trust your
like
gut.
you're in tune with your intuition. You hear what's to come next. And that's someone that lives a very present life and is able to kind of tune in to that sixth sense and be quiet enough to hear it in the first place.
I love that. The power of now changed my life. I remember when I was going through that sociopath abuse, how when three people recommend a book or something, and I read the Cliff Notes, basically it was called Practicing the Power of Now. And now I make that, when I do teach improv, team building things at some of these conferences, and I give out necklaces that say, hey, this is where the joy is in life, the present moment. We're not borrowing. We're not borrowing problems from the past, or for, looking to the future too far. We're in this present moment together. And it says, I'm in the present moment. And then on the back, it says, for now. And it's just a little joke, because you're like, you don't have to do it all the time. Just do it for
So
now.
true.
And it's always
So
now.
true.
So that's like, I love that's so affirming to me when I talk with someone like you, and I hear like, oh my gosh, isn't that interesting that Eckhart Tolle was part of our healing journey? It says so much. That's how. And I don't know about you, but I really was struggling, and I had a toddler, I had a 2-year-old, and I suddenly was homeless. Like anyway, but I was struggling. Like I honestly was just so overwhelmed, and not knowing if I I can't kill myself because I can't even take a nap when I want to. I've got a toddler, like for real. I have to make a joke about it but it was really horrible. And that book just helped me so much. And maybe it was like a second at a time, and then he had these little 2-minute meditations, like really short meditations in the practicing of the power of now.
Yep.
I love that. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing that.
for sure.
Oh,
No, it's, I think that, I think he's been a lot of people's healing journeys, right? I
of
think
course.
because,
I mean, he's yeah.
yeah, he's huge. And as a trauma survivor, you don't even know what the present moment is. I had a therapist too that said, just be in the present moment. And I'm like, what? What does that even mean? I'm like, are you kidding me right now? There's no way. This brain is chaotic, and just learning but what I did train myself to do is to learn how to meditate. And meditation wholeheartedly changed my life. It changed how I showed up. It changed my ability to be more emotionally regulated. It just helps me silence this busy mind sometimes. And I realize how, I'm like the brain that all of the tabs are open, like on the computer. That's that is me. Okay. And I'm just realizing, now that meditation has helped me to stop that, take a break. It helps me problem solve, right? Like creative ideas will pop up when you meditate and you just kind of come back to that moment and you're just like, I can't live without it. I won't go a day without it.
Yeah. Oh, and there are days when I can tell the total difference on a day I meditate and a day I don't. Like it really, and I haven't really, my run today is a little bit of a meditation. It's kind of a moving meditation, but not the same as just sitting still. And, but I'm like, oh, I've got to meditate today. Now I want to, before we have closure, because I want to respect your time. I mean, wow, we're doing pretty good. How are you feeling so far?
Great. Yeah, this has been a fun conversation. I mean, I feel like we've covered a lot of bases, to be honest. I mean, people have
Yeah.
learned so much. It's fun.
Yeah, great. And I love that I can tell you use humor. And that's, one of the things about traumedy is
Yes.
how much I do believe. And again, I will talk about a higher power, whatever that is. It's a frequency thing. I feel like humor is a gift from higher power to help us heal. And
Yes.
it definitely, have you used humor? I mean, I can just tell already because the way you
Oh,
laugh,
yeah.
you
Dark
kind of
humor.
mock yourself like, what is that? What are you talking about? The
Yeah,
present
no, no,
moment.
no. Dark humor for sure. I mean, honestly, I really feel like that actually helped me to get through some of the most awful, terrible things in my life because I was like, oh, well, somehow I'm still here and kicking. I don't know. Like, it's just being able to use humor to lighten things up, right? It doesn't have to be so dark. I mean, yes, things happened and yes, it was awful at times.
Yeah.
But using that dark humor, I'm like, I kind of make fun of like, oh, well, yeah, it's great. My complex PTSD gave me, the ability to have psychic abilities. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
like,
this is what I want to talk about. Okay, the post-traumatic gifts. I'm so glad
yeah,
you mentioned the psychic piece. Yes, because you were saying earlier how you just kind of intuitively know what's going on with somebody.
yeah,
And that, oh my goodness, this is my jam right now. Like if I could just hang out with a bunch of psychics, like I actually went down to Crestone, Colorado, where we have kind of an epicenter, supposedly. But we don't need it. We don't need one epicenter. We're everywhere. And this kind of goes back to the goddess rising and the divine, I don't know, the feminine intuition, I call it. I know men also have psychic gifts, but tell me about your psychic gifts. And yes, thank you. I will forever be grateful for the CPTSD post-traumatic gift of intuition and psychic abilities. And oh my goodness, isn't it fun? The spirit
yeah. I
sign.
mean, it's very fun. I mean, I think when it first happened for me, I was like, what is going on? Because again, I was told that was wrong. Being raised the way I was, psychics
Oh,
it was in the Bible, it was evil, it was satanic, it was wrong. And so when I started to have visions and I started to see things happen before they actually happened, I mean, I was like, what's going on here? I mean, it actually gave me a lot of fear, to be honest, because it
what?
came on very, very quickly. It
Oh,
came on very abruptly because my ex-husband had died tragically. And
oh,
that kind of ignited this awakening again for me to even like have these psychic abilities was because of that grief and that pain. It kind of just, I don't know, it just opened me up way too quickly. Um,
oh. So
and
you
I
weren't
talk
quite
about
ready
that.
to manage.
I was not. I was not ready to manage it at all. I was not prepared whatsoever. But thankfully, it's interesting how the universe works. I had teachers kind of just come into my world and they taught me. They made me actually realize I wasn't going crazy, and that everything was okay, and that it was actually quite normal. And this is okay that you have these gifts. And, many people have these gifts. Actually, we all have them. We just sometimes we're more closed off than others, or we've been told they're wrong, like I did, And so it's more of like, oh, okay, now I understand them. And so now I've been able to kind of harness my gift. And now I use it in the work that I do with people.
That's fantastic. And I'm curious if it might also help you with your sense of safety, because it's like, hey, I can trust that if I need to know about something, if it pertains to me, that my intuition will let me know. Pay attention.
It does, honestly. Yeah, I really do. And I do that. It does happen all the time, actually. Like I kind of am able to sense that stuff and know that stuff. And sometimes I'm realizing trauma also plays a factor in that. Because when you have trauma too, sometimes you kind of get those fearful messages. Oh, maybe this is happening, right? It's just fear. And
Oh,
that's not really your intuition speaking. That's just
that's
fear.
it. How to tease that out, how to discern.
Yeah, exactly. You have to learn the discernment.
Yeah.
And that was a lot in itself to kind of learn. I'm actually just now getting into the space where I've started to learn more of that discernment and being able to like know the difference. And that's been really helpful for me, for sure, but also for my clients.
Yeah. We're going to benefit from it.
Mhm, mhm.
Me being one of your new clients.
I love it. I would love that'd be awesome. That'd be
Get
fun.
ready for my email, my incoming email. And so as we kind of bookend this episode, we opened with this, this awareness that we were raised, imprinted, programmed in a patriarchy. And now you have this podcast, Goddess Rising. I want to talk more, as we close, like that sense of empowerment. When I hear that Goddess Rising, I think about that. What you're saying is we are starting to attune with a different way of being that isn't so egoic or patriarchal or
Yeah.
so tell me, as we get ready for closure, tell me or our listeners like what's going on with Goddess Rising and what do you see for the future?
Yeah. I feel like feminine energy is meant to lead more than masculine. I feel like that's what's going to kind of show up as I feel like it's kind of already showing up where women are kind of leading more, speaking up more. That we're finally like reclaiming our voice. We're finally kind of reclaiming our power as feminine, and being able to kind of really show men how we want to be treated rather than being suppressed, or thinking that we're less than. No, we're equal. We are the same. And I think for years that has not been, a lot of people have not looked at it that way because of religious programming, because of the patriarchy, right? Like, so I think things are shifting and changing. I think the more women that use their voice and speak up and lead, right?
Yeah.
Lead with truth, lead with their own sovereignty, lead from heart. I think those things are going to continue to shift because I think feminine power is like when it's like harnessed with and embodied, like it's unstoppable.
I love that so much. As I'm on my hormone replacement therapy postmenopausal, I am taking estrogen and testosterone. So
There you
I am mansplaining stuff to myself. So that's
go. Love
seriously, now I'm working on a new shtick where I'm talking like my divine feminine is Nancy Virginia, and my divine masculine is Uncle Nance. So Uncle
I
Nance,
love it.
Uncle Nance is always like, hey, change your oil every 3,000 miles and make sure your wiper fluid's full, and explaining Bernoulli's principle to people. And
So
Nancy Virginia's like, oh, you need an airplane? You need Bernoulli? You need an airplane to get lift? We can astral project. So
yes, I love it. That's so cool. Yeah, because it's a fun, I mean, we all hold this type of energy in each of us.
that's
Um,
right. There
I,
is the divine feminine and divine masculine, even in someone as femme presenting as you are.
mhm.
You have a divine masculine that I always, Shakti Gawain said, she wrote the book Living in the Light and Creative Visualization, but she would say divine feminine is the intuitive, the creative, And then the divine masculine is kind of the verb that puts it into action. Like, here's the idea, here's the plans for the house, you go build the house.
Yeah, which I think is so beautiful. And I think so. I had to realize, and the reason why even Goddess Rising became a thing is because I realized how I have been living in my masculine for so long. As a guarded, wounded woman that had been abused for so long, of course I had to be in my masculine. The masculine protects, right?
Yeah.
The masculine defends. And I realized how much work I had to do in order to kind of let not that part of myself lead anymore so that I could have a beautiful balance of both. And wow, what a journey that has been to balance out the both of those pieces of my psyche. But I think that's really the healing work, right? Being able to hold both. And as women, we need to learn how to finally feel safe enough to receive.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, speaking of receiving, are you open to receiving messages from people, and how can they reach out to you and find you?
Yes, I am definitely. So my website is brookedeanne.com, so super simple. And then I'm Brooke Deanne on all of social media, so they can reach out to me. They also can book a clarity call. And I have a beautiful community that's called Returning Women Community for anybody that's, kind of needing some support. I have a circle in there once a month, but I have courses in there to help you on your healing journey, as well as hypnosis library. So you can kind of just access, my work if you can't work one-on-one with me. So there's lots of ways to get into my world.
Thank you so much. Look in the show notes, and there'll be links to everything for Brooke Deanne. And I will be getting some support from you soon.
I love it.
I'm so sincere about this. I will be seeing you, and I don't know. I just am feeling like a sense of delight coming, like a delight incoming. The light is returning. So thank you so much.
I love that. And then we can do a podcast about your experience. That would be super fun.
Right. We'll do some follow up to it. 100%. This is what, oh, I love it. And please feel free to stay in contact with me. Anything going on for you. I like repeat guests as well, just on your journey to hear more about you. So thank you, Brooke Deanne. Thank you. You're wonderful. And thanks for sharing so much today.
Thank you for having me here.
We'll see you. Bye. Oh my goodness. I love this.
I want to thank my guest, Brooke Deanne. Find brookedeanne.com and look in the show notes. You'll see a link to her social media and everything like that. And I want to thank my son, Nathaniel Norton, for doing the music loop for Traumedy, also for helping, with the cares for Mushu. It's not easy. It's a big adjustment. It's like when you bring a baby home. Obviously a dog is easier, but it's still a very big adjustment. It's, especially if you're a recovering codependent like me, takes up a lot of your bandwidth, doesn't it? I'm just scanning constantly if he's doing okay. Like right now, I'm looking down like, okay, are you going to don't chew any cords? Okay, that's not good for you. Okay, I trust that you are doing what you need to do for your well-being. Thank you for being on this co-healing journey. And remember, no matter what, keep laughing.